Yes, this is gonna be really interesting. I have UL back in the interview chair. We had UL last week on Friday, and this is gonna air this Friday. I have this time Hussam Subra. Welcome to the interview.
Thank you so much for having me, Joachim and Crunchfish team.
Yeah, Hussam, we actually see each other twice a week because you talk to our entire Crunchfish team, don't you, on a bi-weekly basis. Let's start there. What do you do for us currently?
So currently we are engaged with Crunchfish team to onboard more or less the whole team on the knowledge process level. And this is through a series of training that we have customized to enable the team capabilities through the mobile payments and the EMV technologies.
Yeah, it's kind of a big sort of knowledge lift we do, and you know, I don't know if you're aware, but we are, if I include all the people in India as well, I think we are about 30 people, and you have, I think it is around 20 from us, which just sort of excludes, you know, we have the people who are very focused on gesture control and that side of the business. They are not part of it, but essentially everybody else is part of your class.
Yeah, indeed. And this is also in line with our mission from UL for empowering trust of our clients. And this is really to help you solve the critical challenges, and with your innovation around the offerings that you would like to provide to the world, to discover new possibilities and deliver what matters from your side.
Yeah, and we're halfway, aren't we? We've just completed the masterclass on mobile payments, and on Monday we're going to start up with a masterclass for EMV, Europay, MasterCard, and Visa card payments, really in detail.
Yeah, indeed. And that's a very nice training as well. And it is still one of my specialty trainings, because in it we do really nice introductions about the evolvement of the payments, and specifically around card payments since the 1950s, and then the introduction to EMV, and what would be a typical transaction flow, then trying to dig deeper into the bits and pieces of EMV, and also talking about the cryptographic algorithms around it as well, in order to ensure the security of EMV as well.
Yeah, and I really, Hussam, you've done a fantastic job for the mobile payments class. And I also, preparing for this interview, I saw that your title was long. You are principal advisor, but also the EMV global lead. So I guess now we're gonna go to your backyard on EMV. I take it.
Indeed. So from a back experience perspective, I started with the payment industry since 2003. So, and with it, I really assumed different roles in different companies and organizations. But all was tagging along and reviewing the card industry, or the card payments industry, from the issuing piece to the acquiring piece, from members who are providing cards or personalizations to their card holders, and also to acquirers who are providing the acceptance devices to their merchants ecosystem and market.
What kind of organizations have you worked with in 2003? Is it banks, or is it sort of have you been part of the sort of payment networks like Visa, MasterCard? Where have you been, Hussam?
So I am coming more from the financial infrastructure, so from a banking industry, where we were offering services directly to our clients, and then I was in the middle of the playground, if you want to say, from between issuers and acquirers. So I was handling both types of requests, because from my position in the electronic banking services team, we were able to cater for both, and then as such manage the systems that are offering services for the both sides of the story.
Yeah, and now how long have you been with UL?
So I moved to UL, or I joined UL team since 2012, It was really an interesting story for me because I was always dealing with the front end systems, but then I wanted to know how things are done in the background from a compliance perspective. And what triggered me is that my financial institution was one of the many users who were utilizing the UL brand and the UL tools for their compliance work and the compliance services.
Okay, so you knew that they were strong on the standards and could really help and understanding the backbone. I remember I did a webinar series, and the who is head of payments at the Swedish Central Bank said that digital payments is something you use every day, but very few actually knows how it works.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, no, and in UL, sort of where are you based in the world? It's kind of fun to do these interviews because one day I'm in Singapore and then I'm in Silicon Valley, and where am I now? Sort of where are you, Hussam?
So currently I am in Dubai. I am part of the European team as well. And we are serving the clients not only in the Middle East region, but also globally, because from a service offering point of view, there is no place we call home. We always reach out to our clients wherever they are.
Yeah. Hey, I sort of have a very ambitious, very ambitious sort of vision of where we're going with our sort of digital cash. I have a vision that digital cash is sort of it's needed everywhere, in every single sort of wallet in the world, which is obviously huge. I believe that you sort of have to first be able to see it, visualize that you could get to a goal, and then you can start working towards that, which is sort of the implementation of it. But unless you are daring enough, courageous enough to sort of see the vision, you will never ever get there. I sort of there was as an entrepreneur, there's an old book from, I think it's from 1936, and it's called Think and Grow Rich, by a guy called Napoleon Hill. And he was asked in the early, sort of 100 years ago about the steel magnet of US. I can put you in contact with the most successful people in the world, and try to find their formula. How are they so successful? And he did that for 20 years, and he wrote this book, Think and Grow Rich, that came out in 36. And it's all about that. Whatever you sort of can think and visualize, then that could happen, because you put forces in motion that helps you. And there was one really cool concept he talked about. You really see it very clearly, and he talks about the mastermind around you, which is sort of much bigger than yourself, and you get sort of you strengthen yourself by really sharp minds. And I feel if you could be in my mastermind, Hussam, to achieve this objective, I think I have a so much greater chance of succeeding.
Indeed, entrepreneurship and innovation is always key into providing new things to the market, and really thinking outside of the box is sometimes what makes these new ideas and bright innovations come into play and make them successful.
Yeah. But it's all about now sort of breaking it down, because I think what you have been working with us, and you're doing a great job, as you said, on a knowledge transfer level. But I think we are expanding with UL, because I think in order to get our digital cash everywhere, we would need help. And one of the things that you have also helped us with is to try to sort of define at least a first sort of scope of work, where you could actually help us to put that strategy, whatever step we need to do. Could you just help explain a little bit what can UL do for some crazy entrepreneur like myself who says it's going to change the world with digital cash? What can you bring to the table from UL, do you think, Hussam?
So in order to have a really trusted solution, then three main things that usual entrepreneurs would be looking at is that defining a robust strategy and setting up a proper implementation plan, and then also defining the compliance requirements. And for this, this is something that we really UL would be looking forward to support Crunchfish in, because if you want to tackle each of these pillars, you would be looking, for example, at identifying the proper business cases, which more or less I think Crunchfish has already set their minds on, and then what would be the gap analysis, or what are the technical requirements that are needed to realize this vision, and based on that, the proper planning will need to take place on how to enable, or what are the steps to enable and bringing these services into the market. All of this will need to be really taking in due diligence with the risk evaluations around them as well, because at the end you are providing a financial service to the market, which really have, due to the recent developments around the world, we see a lot of fraud management need to take place in order to ensure safe and secure service offering with these kind of products. Now, looking at it from a tackling or attack perspective, the implementation of it needs a proper scoping and assessment of the systems that are needed to enable these services, as well as what would be the operating procedures to really provide an efficient and optimized way of working with these systems, and as well the evaluations and the compliance requirements would tag along as a needed step, and that is really needed or required, especially in the case of tapping onto standardized systems, global schemes implementations, things that are really standardized and specified, and they have their own compliancy framework that you need to abide by when you are enabling these kind of services.
Yeah, what I think is kind of interesting with our solution is that we're really not touching too much on the online world, the way it's settled online. That can remain the same, because the online world doesn't really know whether the transaction is happening in real time or if it was happening 10 minutes ago when it's being presented with that transaction, because obviously there's no spying on what's going on in every single retail store. So I think the beauty of our solution is this, that we have separated the payment into two steps, that we can have an offline settlement where the merchant can let go of the customer for its goods and services as one step. And then as a subsequent step, we send it online. But on that offline step, where we are really, this is what we are proposing, we're going to use very similar schemes that is currently in place, even for the prevailing EMV rail. We are signing off a transaction in the mobile app of the user, and it is a cryptogram that is being using sort of public key infrastructure technologies. So it's not like we have something which I think is extremely odd to the market. Would you agree?
Indeed. And that's the beauty of it. It's like resurfacing what you can of the current technologies and trying to use it in a new way to better serve your clients. And that is really one aspect of the outside thinking, is that I already have this set of services or systems that are providing me with one way of the workflow. I am resurfacing them or reusing them in a slightly different manner in order to achieve a better use case or user experience. Now, offline authentication or offline authorization might not be something new to the market, but trying to use it as a main rail of service offering would be something that is maybe encouraging for some markets, depending on their current infrastructure and current online capabilities. And this is really something that that would enable moving towards the digital cash in that sort of sense.
Yeah, no, we sort of, I've said it in a previous interview, but I think it could be said again, because there are so many interviews. I'm sure people are not having the time to see all, but I think it's in Sweden, we have a fantastic IT infrastructure, but it means that everybody, people are not using cash anymore, physical cash. There's very few people who have it in their wallets. So we are sort of moving quickly to a cashless society, but we need digital cash then, because it's the only, I'm sort of playing with words, saying cash is king of digital payments, because it's that easy to use sort of means of payment. But it's just, I'm talking about digital cash, because that is that, that we would need, because otherwise we're going to be screwed in Sweden if there is any sort of failure on, if there is a terrorist attack or whatever situation, but you are not online all the time. So I think the industry, which went from where everything was very offline, I'm old enough to remember where you come with your plastic card offline, and they have one of those machines where you with a carbon paper. So it's all offline, and with the tokenization and everything that happened after 2014, everything was online. But I think the industry has gone too far. I think we have to sort of realize that there is a beauty of actually having payment transaction, as they always have been, as a local transaction, and then we can always move money in the account, but that's a subsequent step. I think that is the beauty of our idea that we come with here to the market, and it's needed in a market like Sweden, but also in India, where we are also, that's the other market we focus on. This is sort of right now in the pandemic, the huge problem that they have is that banking servers are not coping for the sheer load when everybody going to mobile, and our offline solution, it helps with that, because then the merchant can let go of the customer in the critical time moment of payments. You have done that transaction. Then when the merchant is sort of clearing it and getting the money paid at this account, well, that could happen later. So that takes away all the pressure, because the banks can basically queue all the transactions, no problem at all. The thing they can't do typically is to respond in time when you're buying. And I think so. We have a market in Sweden, fantastically sort of, we live in Ericsson land here, but we need digital cash to get that redundancy of what cash brings. But also in markets where they have less of an ideal IT infrastructure, it's needed as well.
I cannot agree more. And if you look at if you dissect a financial transaction that is based on a card payment, you will likely see that this transaction consists of two main parts. And the two main parts are the authorization part and then the clearing part. And the clearing part is then dissected into two other subsequent pieces, which are the clearing and the settlement, where the exact change of funds or exchange of funds happens between the different institutions who were managing the parties of these transactions. So this authorization part is really the essential part for granting the merchant that at the end of the day, their money is going to end up or land in their account. And when with the development of the transactions or the payment industry transaction cycles, the online systems enabled higher assurance rate of having this kind of guarantee. Now, I remember from my old times when I was working for financial institutions, is that around, for example, Christmas time, they will take special measures to increase the offline transaction limits at the acceptance devices of their merchant in order to minimize the network traffic, or put some control on the network traffic due to the network constraint, and that exactly taps into what you have just described. And giving another example, the COVID situation really moved everybody from the physical cash to the digital cash society, which really, depending on the country infrastructure, may have a toll on the network traffic as well. And managing this authorization level in an offline environment will make the transaction cycle smoother, and also enables the system to cap with the transaction volumes afterwards.
Yeah, because as you said, if we talk about the card rail, if you increase sort of the floor limit, how much a merchant can accept on the floor without sort of getting authorization from the cloud that the money is there, that comes with risk, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not they can do that, but then there will be more risks in the market. And I think what we provide is that sort of that on the wallet side, the payment app side, that there is sort of a balance there, which is sort of your own money in some way, or a credit that someone has granted you. That's your spending limit, and that takes care of the what is called double spending problem, that you really don't want people to run around and do too many transactions if they can't cover for it. So we're solving for that. So I think we're adding something quite essential into this world, which is sort of in a way not new, but I think it is on the grand scale as we are contemplating it, that it can be used for a closed loop wallet, but also being compliant with the open loop sort of systems, where we can run on the EMV scheme, we can run on real-time payment schemes, we can run on CBDC, sort of central bank currency schemes. I think that grand scale of ours is sort of what sets this attempt of Crunchfish apart, I think. That hasn't been seen before, I think.
Yeah, I think once we start tapping onto the technology details and understanding more how the transaction flow happens, especially from the Crunchfish eye, then we would be able to really provide or support Crunchfish in identifying the best way to approach it, the market, and then what would be the sort of gateways that Crunchfish would really like to consume in order for them to have the greater approach towards the international support.
Yeah, because I think again, I talked about mastermind, and I would love to have you in my mastermind, Hussam. You know, and you're already there with providing all this sort of knowledge to us, but also going forward. But I really see, you know, if you look at the digital payment world, it's quite a complex ecosystem, and I'm launching something which is also will be in a way part of our mastermind. It's a Crunchfish sort of digital cash partnership. When we do this interview, it hasn't been launched yet, but it will before Friday when we come out with this. And I've sort of have looked at it as there are sort of in some sense 5 levels here. The top level is the schemes and networks. This is where you have you know, the networks like MasterCard, Visa. These are particular, you know, implementation. We have the umbrella networks, sort of, which are almost like networks of networks. And then I have the scheme itself, in a way. I put that on the very top level. Go down one level, we get into the banking level. I have central banks, I have banks, and I have also mobile operators, mobile network operators, who could sort of handling in a way in payments, they're almost like banks then. Then I have the processors at one level down, which is sort of the switching processors, which is sort of doing the sort of providing that switch that you can switch between accounts, as you were just mentioning. And then going down one level, we're talking about wallets. It could be OEM pays. This is sort of wallets that comes with the manufacturer of the phone. It could be third-party applications or the regulated sort of payment service providers. That's sort of the wallet level. And then you are down to our world, which is sort of the physical local world, where you have a payments app and you have some sort of proximity interface to the merchant and the whole merchant world. But in all this here, there are potential partners for us that can help us, because there are, if we tap into, say, one of those partners, we announced last week eCurrency, who are very strong in going into for CBDC, touching central banks. But just imagine if we have that partnership. They have already talked to most of the central banks in the world, and when they get a breakthrough with one or many of those central banks, the central banks will push that e-currency out to the whole country, because that rail will be available. And I think the partnership, I think, is one of the key strategies for me, to be able to execute and actually reach scale fairly quickly, because there are so many different players in this complex, digital payment world, which is interesting. I think it makes it extremely interesting, the whole thing.
Indeed, because especially also with when looking at local schemes or schemes that are encouraged by the central banks, which means that they would like to provide a customized user experience to their banking infrastructure. And this would be one really good way of being able to provide a dedicated service offering that also can support international payments in case the public from that current country or that current ecosystem were exposed to the outside network as well.
Yeah. And in this whole partnership mix, we need someone who are very close to us and can really help us sort of understand and navigate. And this is where I'm so happy that I found UL, which is sort of I've done one interview with Shantanu, who came in and really helped us to straighten out our terminology to be compliant with EMV, which was great. And but I think now scaling up with you, Hussam, here, we are looking at the big picture right now. We're looking for how can we execute and get traction with our solution, and it will be in steps. We won't get to all wallets in the world tomorrow, but I think we could do clever steps that will almost like a roadmap. There will be big milestones happening along the way by getting great partners on board, because I believe getting a big partner on board is probably right now more important to me than to just add a single wallet. Because that wallet will bring me into their world, which is great in a way, and I need it in a way for proof of concept in these early days. But as e-currency, for instance, well, they might bring us into I don't know how many central banks, which has much more leverage for us, because then we're getting out to many of the wallets of these countries where the central banks operate.
Yeah, indeed. So looking at the bigger picture, which means that different aspects of the integration or of the rollout map needs to be taken into consideration. When for example, if I am looking into tapping to an international schemes, there are certain things that I need to think of. What would be my interface specification that I need to really be able to transact with that scheme? But then from a service point of view or service offering, what would be a suitable product that can tap in and provide the necessary information that can be at the end loaded onto the scheme network in the specification or in the format that is required. So all of this will be part of the thinking process that we'll be taking into consideration when we are working together on this bigger picture as well.
So how realistic, I have a friend, one of my childhood friend, he thinks I'm sort of high, that I've been smoking something when I talk to him. But I'm definitely going to show this to him. But depending what you say, I guess, well, he will see it anyway, because I know he follows these interviews. But I'll ask you, so how realistic is it that we can come with an innovation like this in 2021 now? and actually dent the world, change the world in a way in our with our solution. Is it at all realistic, or am I just dreaming, Hussam?
Looking at the advancement of technologies and the new solutions that are coming every day to the market, I wouldn't call anything that is impossible. Mm. It only depends on how I approach it, how I tackle this big piece of the puzzle into the smaller pieces, and then I start to work them out. And as I mentioned to you earlier, that setting up my priorities right and putting in the best rollout procedure for me, it will help me to really provide a solution that has a global approach with scalability considerations.
Yeah. But it needs some. It's a fun game right now. We are on a mission to do something, and I think in addition to all those partners which are playing into, they're doing various parts of this big digital payment ecosystem. But I think UL, you are a little bit of a special player there, because you're almost like the experts that everybody would turn to get advice on how to get, as you say, empowering trust. How do you deliver a trusted solution in this sort of quite complex world, I guess?
So as I was mentioning to you earlier, so our UL team consists of different divisions, and I am coming from the identity management and security team. With this team, we bring more than 500 security experts to help organizations to manage the risks and validate their capabilities and compliancy for their products, which they would really like to bring to the marketplace. And this is done using the highest standards and best practices throughout our secure and connected technologies, which are aimed at strategic solutions. Because from our standpoint, we bring our experience with these kind of solutions. This is not obviously the very first time that we provide some sort of support from that kind, and as well as tapping into our experience with the schemes and contributions to the compliance world. From that perspective, really position us as really a player who serves multiple ecosystems where we can benefit through our SMEs with these kind of implementations.
Yeah. A very specific question I have for you. We need to this. I look at the watch or the time here. This is a long interview, but thanks, Hussam, for taking the time. But in terms of certification of our digital cash solution, would you advise that we should certify it in isolation as a solution itself, or should it rather be certified in combination with, say, the EMV rail, using it together with host card emulation, or I don't know, OEM pay, or whatever, or with another scheme? Or what's your advice on how we could certify in order to, well, it's done once, it's certified, so people can get a better trust in our solution. What's your advice in that area?
So here again, this will tap into our earlier mentioning of what sort of angles of the ecosystem or of this payment industry we would like to tackle. And each of these providers around the world will require their compliancy assessment and compliancy validations. So in the case that, for example, I would like to offer an EMVCo supporting solution, then definitely I will need to undergo the EMVCo compliancy. But that might not be needed at the early stages where I am not yet tagged onto that railways. In case, for example, I am looking at tapping into one of the schemes railways, then I will need, obviously I will need to comply with the specifications and the security requirements from that scheme. If I want to give you an example of a typical certification process, if we take, for example, acquirers who are really providing the systems or the acceptance infrastructures to the ecosystem, to merchants, then we are looking at different levels of certifications that need to be undergone. There are the lowest level, which is the level 1, usually carried out by the device manufacturer, and this will provide certifications at the engine level of the device. And then for level 2, we are talking about the integration compliancy requirements with the systems and enabling the data security validations and clearing and transaction in system validations and compliancy. So as you can see, in each level, we are tackling different aspects of the system. And for each of those levels, also there are specific requirements or specific compliancy requirements from each brand or scheme or standard. Then if you tap on to the other levels, like the third and the fourth level, and this is where we really test the system when it is integrated or part of the bigger picture. So we are sending a transaction which passes in more than one system, and then checking how the whole process flow happens and behaves.
Yeah. On the issuing side, though, if we took in the payments app, because I think let's just take the example of EMV here. That there are host card emulation there, and they are certified SDKs for that could deliver host card emulation. We are bringing in a way a sort of an offline balance there as an SDK in parallel to this. So we are providing, say, a spending limit, and we can do rule-based checking on that, how many transactions you can do in an offline mode, or what is the accumulated amount you can transfer before you have to go online to reconciliate. Does that has to be on the EMV rail? Do we have to, because we are just constraining how much you can do. We are not really changing the underlying operation of the host card emulation in a way. But does it still need to be certified, do you think?
So if at the end of the day, if I want to provide a system which I would promote as EMV compliant, then I need to obviously make the necessary compliance validations and the certifications required for it. Because although I am using an SDK certified for EMV, for example, that means that my engine, from a functional behavior, from a security evaluation process, all of this has been maybe already done. But then I want to take it one level up and then see the transactional environment. Is it working as it should be? Does it look like how it is required, and does it provide the user experience that is expected out of it? So this will need to be done, and especially if I am providing a product that is tagged along a brand, then obviously the brand will need to provide also its final certification out of.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's a little bit what you describe on the acquiring side, level 1, 2, 3, 4. It's similar thinking on the issuing side as well, I guess.
Yeah,
that's good advice. So if we were to certify, from a product standpoint, our stuff together with the EMV, that would help or make it simpler for any, say, issuing bank to issue or service provider, because they know that the component they bring in are already certified. So there will be some scalability advantages of actually having it certified on a standalone basis, really.
Exactly, because providing a ready-to-market product will make the users or the potential clients more encouraged into tapping along to it in order to provide a faster time to market to their client base.
Yeah. Hey, 9 o'clock my time in the morning, and I guess it's coming up to lunchtime for you, isn't it? Because you are 3 hours ahead. This has been a fantastic interview, sort of touching on many things, and thanks for not killing my dream that it might be possible to go for all the mobile wallets in the world, even if it's a long journey, obviously.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Susam. Take care then. Cheers.
Bye-bye.